You don't get promoted for what you do, you get promoted for who you are. If you are relying on the same skills that made you a high performer, you are actually stuck in a trap. Hello leaders, Michael here. Today is a special episode. What you are about to hear is a recording of a live masterclass I just taught called High Impact Leadership. You're going to learn the rapid identity transformation system, the fastest way to shift you from doing to leading. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Leadership Mindset 2.0. Practical neuroscience and psychology to transform you from a tactical doer into a strategic leader. Here is your host, former social entrepreneur of the year and coach to some of the world's top executives, R. Michael Anderson.
Hello everybody, Michael here, and welcome to the special masterclass. This is how to master truly confident, high-impact leadership. And I did this last year, and it was so popular last year that if you're listening to this on the podcast, we're also doing this masterclass live. We had over 250 people sign up. And this went over so well last year that I updated it. There's some new special stuff in there. People told me that kept getting messages that really helped them because you're going to be learning a new system that's not in the book on how to rapidly change. And really what I want to do is give you a step-by-step game plan to inspire your team to lead with clarity and create lasting impact. So you can finally feel like the leader you've always wanted to be. When I got into leadership, and so many people that I talk to that gets into leadership, we love leadership because normally we make an impact being an individual contributor or starting our own business, whatever it is, and we love making an impact. And we realize when we get into leadership, we can make more of an impact. We can help more people. And so we want to do that. But if you follow me, that can be frustrating. We can get caught into all these different types of things. And so we really need to keep reorienting ourselves and growing in order to do that. And just to get clear about who this is for anybody, any leaders, whether you're a business owner, you're a VP, or even an aspiring leader who feel like they may be the bottleneck to their own growth. And if you are growing, if you're getting promoted, if you're scaling your business, this isn't a negative thing. This is something we got to realize. We often do get caught as the bottleneck to our own growth because we need to keep changing and evolving. And every time you change as a leader, your team grows, your company gets bigger, you get promoted, whatever that is, you need to evolve. And I hate to tell you, everybody, it never stops, never ever stops. So today, what we're going to be talking about is what you're going to learn here is a simple way to transform your leadership by rewiring your mindset. You're going to learn the real reason why relying on outdated skills keeps you stuck, why focusing on doing rather than being is the biggest trap leaders fall into, and a way to finally break free from the isolation and overwhelm. I just want to throw this up here. You probably know who I am, and you're probably familiar with me. My name is R. Michael Anderson. My last book is Leadership Mindset 2.0. It's sold over 65,000 copies by now, 3 Book of the Year awards. I wrote it actually for a younger me, because if you know my story, I founded my first software company at 35. We had good success, but I was not mentally or emotionally ready for what was ahead of me as a leader. And it was difficult for me. It was difficult for me mentally, emotionally. I was the bottleneck massively to my companies because at one time I owned 3, 2 in California, 1 in Singapore. And it wasn't until I went and earned a master's in psychology to figure myself out and to figure this leadership thing out. And that's exactly what I teach now. I've been teaching it specifically for over the last 10 years. I've worked with some of the largest organizations in the world. I've worked with princesses. I've worked with people that run multi-billion-dollar a year companies. And this is the same thing that I teach them and the same thing I needed to learn in order to really scale my businesses and make a big impact, both revenue-wise, profit-wise, and in the community and for the people that worked for me. This is the exact same thing. What's good is over the years, I make it more into framework. I make it easier for you to learn. And again, like I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be going over stuff that's not in the Leadership Mindset book. And really, I know we got so much going on, so I want to make things real easy for you. And so you're going to get a start to finish game plan to become a transformational leader who inspires trust, drives results, and balances success with personal fulfillment. I so much believe that leadership is this humanistic journey. And it's not just about making money, not just about for the company or for yourself. It's about you growing as a person, you growing the people on your team, and you really spreading positivity. I don't know, as corny as it sounds, through your leadership, because you can help out so many people by being a leader that really understands themselves. And you really want to build that thriving team and business while enjoying your life again. I say enjoying your life again because so many people come to me when they really enjoy their work, and then they get into leadership and it's just causing so much stress and burnout that they need help. I talked about high impact leadership I was thinking about this when I first did it last year. I'm like, what do people really want? They want to create an impact. They want to be high impact leaders. Now, I have a question for you out there listening and watching. I want you to type into the chat how you define high impact leadership. It could be 1 word, 2 words, it can be a couple words. What I'm going to do a couple times during this is I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to go on and then do a little teaching and come back because it takes people a couple minutes to think about it. Because what I want to talk about as you're putting what high impact leadership, to really understand what high impact leadership is, first we have to look at what low impact leadership is. And the funny thing is, there are some people that are, you might say, engaging in low impact leadership that are still somewhat successful in their role. Here's some questions that you know that you're in low impact leadership. Do you secretly feel like you're winging it every single day, hoping no one realizes you're not as confident as you seem? Do you spend more time fixing your team's mistakes than creating a vision for where they need to go? Do you feel constantly pulled in 1,000 directions, never able to focus on what really matters? And do you sometimes wonder if leadership just isn't for you? And most of all, do you dread the idea of waking up 5 years from now, still stuck in the same cycle, knowing you could have been so much more? This is low impact leadership. And we can get stuck in here, and we want to make sure you don't get stuck in here. So we're going to talk about how to get out of that. So, oh my gosh, I got a lot of great high impact things. Erica, cool under pressure. Ronald, overall team growth. Johan, making a difference forever, empowering your team, growing individuals, influence others for good, empowering others to excel, inspirational, efficient, great things here. Make a difference, create great teams, team feel empowered. Yes, motivated team, inspiring, curiosity, practicing empathy, leading to growth. Earl, that's a great one. Yeah, it's really interesting to see. To me, they're all a bit different, but they're all the same. Now, when I did exactly this in my group a little while ago, I put out a post, how do you define high impact leadership? And this is what I had. I'm just going to read it out, especially for people on the podcast. High impact leadership is the ability to inspire, empower, and guide a team towards significant and meaningful outcomes while fostering personal and professional growth for its members. In essence, high impact leadership combines strategic vision, authentic connection, and a commitment to team success, creating a ripple effect that transforms organizations, inspires individuals, and drives lasting impact. And I think that really captures it, and it captures what people put on here. Because look, it's almost everybody I know, they want to do a great job. And they know that as a leader, you can impact so many people. You know, the people that work for you, their families, the people they deal with, their friends, their lives. That's just them, much less our peers, much less our customers, much less the other people on the leadership team. And it's really, how do we get there and how do we unlock that is exactly what you'll do. Because when you shift from a low impact to a high impact leader, you're really going to see the changes that you're able to make. And like everything that I teach, they all start with you, but then they radiate and ripple out. And that's where we're going to learn that system. But before we learn that system, I feel like I'm teasing you a little bit here, but we're going to talk about the 3 mistakes leaders make on this transformation journey. Because we got to understand how we sabotage ourselves, for lack of a better term, on this journey before we jump on to the process. Now, mistake 1 is And look, if you've been listening to the podcast or whatever, this is similar to the leadership and competence trap. This is the high performer trap. This is a more specific incarnation of the leadership and competence trap. The high performer trap is basically relying on the same skills that got you here. Because being a high performer, you've learned skills and habits that are holding you back. Because what made you a great individual contributor doesn't translate into effective leadership. And you're relying on old habits, and they keep you stuck in tactical execution. Because you, as a high performer, you are great tactically, you are great executionally, and you know how to do it. And you want everybody to do it as fast and as well as you did. And now all of a sudden you're here and they're not doing it the way you did it or as fast or as well. And you don't know how to activate them. You just know how to do it yourself. And what that does is you get frustrated because you see the potential in the people and in the team. The performance starts to drop and you feel overwhelmed, stretched thin, and unable to focus. It's like you didn't do anything wrong. You're just stuck in this high performer trap. And you need to, somebody just chatted, that's exactly where I'm at. Yes, this happens. This is so common. And you need to unlearn a lot of habits and then reskill yourself to reach the next level. I was a programmer, project manager before I founded my own company. And I talk about this. What made me a good technical person? I was a technical person because I was a bit introverted. I was analytical. I could outwork any problem. If there was a problem, I would work day and night to solve it. I was good at dealing with maybe one or two customers, one or two projects. I was really good at that. And then I get into leadership, and all those skills, they're not bad skills, but they are not what you need to be a really successful leader. To be a really successful leader, you need what? Communication. You need to empower people. You need to be in touch with your intuition. You have all these different priorities. You need to think and act strategically, none of which I hardly even touched in my prior role. Mistake number 2, focus on doing rather than being. See, the issue is when we are in a high-performing individual contributor, we love doing because we're really good at it. And for years, you got pats on the back. Hey, good job, Michael. Hey, good job, Christy. Hey, good job, Ryan. You did stuff really well. So we have this loop that our brain is always looking to do because it's really good at doing. But when you focus on doing rather than being, it keeps you stuck in surface level fixes, never addressing the root cause. And then what happens, because you're good at doing, you take on more and more responsibility, which means you're working more and more hours. And then the thing is, sometimes you can still be successful for a while, but then you're always the busy tactical person who maybe you're making your targets, maybe you're not. You're busy all the time, running from one meeting to another, doing your emails and your reports and stuff in the evenings and the weekends. And then you're the busy tactical person who's always running around. But people never look at you as like, oh man, that person's strategic. That person really is a high level type of person. That's where you get stuck. And another issue is when things get difficult, you shift into doing, not into being. And I saw this great quote. This quote didn't come from me. This quote came from one of my clients, one of my coaching clients. But you don't get promoted for what you do. You get promoted for who you are. Now, I'm not talking about your first promotion, but once you get into leadership, when you want to get people to follow you, to have respect, to really see you as their leader, it's about how you show up. It's about who you are, who the person that comes to the meeting is, how they hold people accountable, how they deal with difficult situations. Everybody there, probably everybody at the table are good doers, but who are you? So that's mistake number 2. A couple of people are saying they connect with that. Oh, I get it. I've been there too. And again, like I talk about, every single thing that you're learning here, I had to learn myself the hard way. That's why I'm trying to make it easy for you. Mistake 3, the solo transformation fallacy. When people get stressed, they feel isolated and stuck, and then they're not sure where to go from there. And it creates a cycle of hoping things are going to improve on their own while nothing changes. And it denies you the opportunity to leverage systems and leverage support and external ways to get out of this. Because oftentimes high performers, they may not want to admit to anybody that they're struggling. They may start putting up their walls because they're afraid that other people are seeing that they don't have things under control. Sometimes they get so stressed, and the more stressed you are, like the more you go inside and the more overwhelmed you are, the less you take the necessary steps to get you out of there. So that's what the solo transformation fallacy in there. So those are the 3 mistakes. So we are going to go through the system of how to change this. Because we're going to go through the system of how to change this, I just want you to put in the chat, and I'm just going to pick maybe 2 or 3 of these to run through the system. Just give me a thought or behavior you want to change. As you put them in there, I'm going to keep going. Because the true bottom line is you need to change your identity. So all of these strategies, we need to make sure this is about who you are. I just talked about you need to become somebody different. You don't become somebody different by reading a blog with the 5 things you need to do to improve your leadership. That's not going to change who you are and how you show up. That's not going to be the person that comes into a leadership meeting, really impresses people strategically, and then all of a sudden they are one of the strategic A players. That's not a doing function, that's a being function, and we do that by changing our identities. The fast example I give when it comes to identities is, say you're in I was going to use Thanksgiving, that's a very American and Canadian example. Say you are at a relative's house for Christmas. And I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, but just go with me here. My brain's figuring out stuff on the fly, or a holiday, whatever it is. And you got aunts and uncles there, and you go into the room where all the kids are, and all the kids are under 10 years old and they're playing, and you're the only adult in the room. And one of the kids maybe says a swear word, not a horrible swear word, but you're the only adult there. So you say something to the kids, right? Because you're in the adult mode, your adult identity, like maybe it's your kids, maybe your uncle or aunt or whatever it is. And you say, hey, we don't use that in this family. Let's use other words, right? Then you walk into the exact next room and all your grandparents are there and your parents, and somebody swears there. Do you say something to them? Of course you don't, because you're deferential to them. That's your parents. Those are your grandparents. So that's a case where it's literally 30 seconds difference. It's the same you, but you think and act differently because of the situation, because you switch into an identity. And this comes from psychosynthesis. And what this is we have subpersonalities, and you have multiple identities. And we all do. And it's a healthy thing. It's not an unhealthy thing, but you have an identity, as maybe a parent, as a brother or sister, as a sibling, as a kid, as maybe a boss, as maybe a coworker. In each of those different scenarios, you act, talk, think a little bit different, which is normal. We all do this. The thing is, when we can start working with these identities, you can architect these so that you overcome your imposter syndrome, that you show up more powerfully, that you hold people accountable, that you have the difficult conversations easily and gracefully, not by just practicing the words, but by showing up as this improved leader, this new leader. And to do this, what we have is the rapid identity transformation system. So it's an easy, simple 4-step process for unlocking the high impact leader within you. Now, let's run this through. This is a belief identity framework. You don't have to remember all these terminologies. Don't worry about it. But basically, what it is your beliefs create your identity, and your identity creates your thoughts, and your thoughts create your actions. That's how life goes. And look, with a lot of work, we can change a little bit of your actions, but not for the long term. Same with your thoughts. I can think more positive. Thinking more positive is great, but there's a reason you're thinking negative if you're thinking negative. And with a ton of work, that's not going to really truly let, for example, negative thoughts go away. It comes from your identity, but where your identity comes from is your beliefs. Now, what's really interesting is we're going to follow this backwards. for a couple minutes to see how this works. Because what we can do is we can often come up with our identity and our beliefs based on what our actions and our thoughts are. So if I take a couple of these, and look, I know, wow, I got a lot in here. So I'm just going to take one or two, but thank you everybody for putting these in here. Taking on too much myself. This person, I'm not going to say who said it, but taking on too much myself. I think a lot of us can relate to that. So our actions are, we need to take on a lot of this. It happens one by one. So, oh my gosh, something happens. I have to take it on myself. That's an action and a thought. The action is I'm taking this on myself. The thought is I need to take that on myself, right? The identity is I need to cover for everybody else. That's the identity. And the belief may be, now I'm just guessing here, but I'm showing you how this is. The belief is I don't really know how to empower my team. So I'm going to take on everything myself because I need to be a high achiever and we need to hit this performance. But the belief may be holding you back from holding your team accountable. Your belief may be holding you back from delegating, and that feeds into your identity. And that's what creates the thought and the action of I need to do it all myself. Somebody says lack confidence in myself. That's just the same. My thought is that I lack confidence in myself. The action may be that I don't raise my hand in the senior leadership team because I'm afraid. The identity is that I'm a good doer, but not a great leader, or that I know how to do tactical stuff, but not strategic stuff. And same with the belief. The belief is I'm a really good doer, but I don't yet believe in myself enough and my capabilities. So I'm going to stay in this role. Your beliefs and your identities are very much linked, and then that drives your thoughts and that drives your actions. I'll do one more real quick. Micromanaging. My action is micromanaging. My thought is this has got to get done and I'm the only one to do it. Your identity is still as a doer and not as a leader, because if you were a leader, you would have handled that the other way. And I don't really have faith in myself to teach this person and train this person or the skill set or the process. So I'm just going to do it myself. So that is the belief, identity, thought, action, identity transformation system. And I know I'm giving you a lot here. So I know I'm giving you a lot here. Okay, so we're going to go to the next stage. And we're going to walk through this from a different angle, especially when I do things on the deep psychological level, like beliefs and identities. I want to look at it from different angles. So even if you didn't totally get that, that's okay. Stay with me. So step one, you want to identify your current identity. Identify your current identity. And look, you have multiple identities, so pick one, make it easy on yourself. Maybe, directly you as a leader, you lead 10 salespeople or whatever it is. And what is your current identity? You want to write down a name, give it a name as well as the attributes for it. But I also want to tell you about this really important equation that I have, which is identity equals evidence plus mindset. What it is you have evidence of things in your life. You have good things and bad things that have happened in your life. You have times when you've failed and you've had times when you've succeeded. Chances are if you're listening to this and you relate to what I said, you've done a lot of good things in your life, but you sort of forget about them and you focus more on the couple times you weren't perfect. And then what your mindset does is it amplifies that. And if you have the incorrect mindset, what you do is it takes the negative evidence and it makes that your identity. So your mindset's like, oh my gosh, I'm in this new position, or my team has scaled. What evidence am I going to pick? I'm going to pick the couple times that I failed in my life. Oh my gosh, am I going to fail at this? My identity is going to be somebody who's scared, who has imposter syndrome, who's going to put up their walls, who's going to try to do everything themselves. That's where I'm at right now. But when we have the right mindset, when we work on our mindset and we have the proper mindset, it's going to be like, look, hey, I'm in a new position, but you know what? I've succeeded every other time that I've been in a new position. I wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, I got stuff done. So you know what? I'm going to create an identity of somebody who's new to this role, but who believes in themselves. And I'm going to have faith in myself. That does mean I'm going to be humble. I'm going to ask for advice, but I'm also going to have confidence in myself. Now, can you imagine if you can create that mindset, and when you get into scary situations, when there's a lot of pressure, that you can rely on your mindset and your evidence to create a strong identity for yourself. So you still take on those challenging things, but you don't do it by beating yourself up or anything else. That's really what we're looking to do. Let's take this to another level. Self-worth. What self-worth is it's the amount of achievements that your ego feels that you're allowed to have. And here's what I mean. So you have a certain amount of achievements right now in your life. You are a CFO, or you're this manager. You've created a business that's now doing $100 million a year. So that's like a level of achievements. And if you've been doing that a while, your self-worth, your ego might say, okay, I've been a CFO for 5 years. I can do this. I'm good at this. So your self-worth and your achievements always try to level each other out. But what happens is something's going to happen where they're not at the same level. So for example, if you get a promotion, so maybe you move from middle manager to senior manager and you didn't know this was coming. Now, all of a sudden, there's a gap, right? Your achievements are higher than your self-worth. And anytime your achievements and your self-worth are out of balance and your achievements are higher than your self-worth, that's when insecurity comes in. That's when the ego's like, whoa, hold on a second. I don't know if I'm ready for this achievement yet. And that's where we get imposter syndrome. That's where we can get self-sabotage, etc. But if it's like a relatively small promotion, I know it was coming, maybe then after a couple of weeks, after a month or two, maybe I'm on edge. I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Everybody's looking at me. And then you do it for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then you realize I can do this. And then your self-worth and your achievements level up again. What happens though is sometimes a big gap. Maybe you go from CFO to CEO. You didn't know it was coming. There is a massive gap there. And your self-worth, you either don't get the coaching, the support, the mentorship, or whatever you need for your self-worth to catch up to your achievements. And this is the danger zone of when there is a gap there that you don't address and it stays there. And this is where overwhelm comes up. This is where burnout comes up. And this is where people really run into problems, is when their achievements are outpacing their self-worth. And that all, again, has to do with identity. Your self-worth, in a way, is really tied to your identity. So that's where you had step one, identify your current identity. Where are you at now? And it takes some honesty. It takes some honesty because, with leadership, you got to realize what are you doing well and what are you not doing well? Because until you identify what you want to change, you can't really change it. So then you want to identify your desired identity. Where do you want to be? What identity do you need to be showing up to really serve your team, to really serve your company, to serve yourself, to keep getting promoted, to keep growing the company, whatever that is? What identity do you need then? Now let's talk about something else here. Let's talk about the good old word of confidence. And I talk a lot about confidence. Now, when we talk about confidence, first of all, I get a lot of people, especially Europeans, saying, oh my God, I don't want to be arrogant. I'm like, hold on a second. Confidence and arrogance are different. What we have is we have shyness and we have arrogance. And they're both born out of insecurity. Shyness is people are hiding themselves because they feel insecure. That's what shyness is. And on the other end, arrogance is people are insecure, but they don't want people to know that. So they go on the attack first because they don't ever want to be truly seen and they don't want people to see truly who they are. So arrogance is often being loud, talking too much, etc., and being maybe a bully, etc. Now in the middle, there's this beautiful place called confidence. So what confidence is, first of all, confidence is necessary as a leader. And I want you to think of a leader that you look up to. And maybe that's in sports, maybe it's in politics, maybe it is an activist, maybe it is in business, whatever it is. This leader you look up to has a confidence about them. We are drawn to confidence, especially in our leaders. And I want to be really clear about what the confidence is. The confidence is not that you know it all. It's not that you're an amazing doer. It's not that you're super smart. honestly, when you get up into higher levels of leadership, we really don't care how technical, smart, or doing you are. The confidence that you want is that you and your team will figure it out, that you can move forward without all the information, that when things come up that are going to be unexpected, because they will, because that's what leadership is, that you have the confidence in your ability and your team's ability to handle whatever comes up. And part of that is you just being cool and calm under pressure. That is you always showing hope and a way forward, but you need to develop that, and that needs to be authentic. That cannot be faked. And confidence is not about being loud. It's not about talking all the time. Confidence is often you're the person in the back of the room or just listening to the meeting, and then 45 minutes through the hour-long meeting, you raise your hand and you ask the one question that nobody else had the courage or foresight to ask, and it totally changes the whole discussion. That is the confidence we're looking for. The confidence to call out bad behavior, the confidence to take risks. That's the confidence you need. The confidence that says you're going to know it all and everything, that's arrogance. If you feel like you need to tell everybody how smart you are. And Tom said, so I cannot be secure and arrogant. Correct, Tom. You cannot be secure and arrogant. Arrogance is insecurity. So that's a little bit about your desired identity. So you have to have some sort of confidence in there. You have to have some sort of person that's inspiring for your team. So step 1 was identify your current identity. Step 2 is define your desired identity. Step 3 is to change your beliefs. Now, what do I mean by changing your beliefs? I'm throwing out a lot of different models and things to you, but if you look at this, is called the 5-line models. This is from the University of Santa Monica, where I got my psychology degree. We have 5 levels. We have the authentic self on the bottom. And then upwards from that, we have unconscious, emotional, mental, and physical. How it is that our authentic self is here, but it has 4 layers to go through to get to the real world as it is. The thing is, we often work on the physical and the mental, sort of like how I was talking about thoughts and actions. We work on the physical and mental, but unless you work on the emotional and unconscious, changes don't stick. So for example, maybe you get a promotion that's on the physical level. Okay, I got that promotion. I always use promotion because it's really easy, really simple, right? You are now in charge of a larger team, more responsibility. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. And mentally, you try to do positive thoughts and you do affirmations every day and you have imposter syndrome, but you didn't work on the emotional and the unconscious. And maybe you come from a very blue collar background. Maybe you come from a place where your dad and mom worked their butt off and you just got promoted to a place where you need to be really strategic. So we don't need you doing more. We need you working on like mergers and acquisitions or the company strategy. But you really have this thing, this unconscious belief that you need to be busy all the time to be productive, when what the company needs is for you to be a really high level thinker. But you only try changing the physical and maybe the mental, and then all of a sudden what happens is you try doing this job, but you feel stressed all the time, and that's an emotional reaction. And then unconsciously, that's what's creating that, is because you feel like you're not really doing a great job unless you're always busy running around with a full calendar and a full to-do list. So you manufacture ways to do that, and then all of a sudden you're not getting your strategic things done. That's why to make true change in the world, you have to work on the mental, physical, emotional, and unconscious, which is just the same thing as basically creating a new identity. And then once you do that, so identify your current identity, define your desired identity, you need to change your beliefs, and then you need to anchor in a new way of being. Because obviously, once you have these, your subconscious is going to try to bring you back to where it was. That's just how the subconscious does. So you need to really put anchors in there for the new identity. So that, for example, staying calm under pressure, or the fact is you move from doing to leading, stays with you. And unless you have the anchors, you'll pop back in. So that is the rapid identity transformation system. And remember, if you have questions, put them in. We are going to handle Q&A in a few minutes. When everything is said and done, you are going to create a new way of being based on the powerful you and a powerful positive mindset, which is beliefs and identity, leading to that true high impact leadership. So now that is what I wanted to teach you, the Rapid Identity Transformation System, RITS. Now, you know what, honestly, I'm horrible at acronyms. If you can give me a better name for the Rapid Identity Transformation System, or RITS, I'm all ears. So drop me a note or pop something in one of the groups. So that is really what I wanted to get out to you. You need to work on your identity. You need to work on your beliefs. And if hearing all that, you have everything you need now, that's great. Because I just wanted to make sure you have this information. And so if you have everything you need, then we're good. Now, if you're like, hey, that is really amazing. However, I need help doing this. I understand what a belief is, but maybe I don't know how to change my beliefs. I don't know how to change your identities. And you're not alone, because these are difficult things to change. So what I want to do is I'm coming out right now. Actually, I'm just releasing this cohort that is the Leadership Mindset 2.0 Accelerator. Now, 3 times a year, I run these 3-month live courses. In January, I run Mindset, and then I run Strategic, and then I run Team Performance. And so I'm going to start up a new cohort of this live 3-month mastermind. And I just looked at some of the case studies. I'm going to talk a little bit about this for a couple minutes. But just imagine this. Imagine waking up each day with clarity and knowing exactly how to focus your energy and attention. When you walk into your office with a clear plan, tackling priorities and ease instead of getting bogged down in the endless distractions. And really feeling that true confidence and calm as you navigate challenges. And even picture yourself handling a high-stakes presentation or like a really difficult team conflict, not with hesitation or anxiety, but with poise and self-assurance. Like you step up and you step into those difficult conversations because you know you're prepared, and other people start seeing that too. That's your way of being. And people that go through this, they build deeper connection with their teams and their peers. And this is giving you the mindset and the way of being to step into a senior leadership team and really be seen as one of the strategic players, to really participate and really have your team start respecting you and them really seeing you as their high-level leader and really having the tools and the mindset to handle whatever comes your way. Because, that's what we need to do as leaders. Different stuff always comes this way. So really, the Leadership Mindset 2.0 Accelerator not only gives you the tools, but it also gives you the support to really make that change. And this is what we do. We go through the whole process with you because we work on your beliefs, and you will come out of it with new identities, which are going to drive your thoughts and which are going to drive your actions at the end of the day. But we start here, and it's really, really, I love this. This is the most fun course that I teach out of all the accelerators, because I love when people uncover their beliefs, change their beliefs. I love to see them show up in their new identities. And the thoughts and the actions are just results of doing that work. Because we start here, we start on the unconscious and move our way up. I talked about self-worth and achievements. The result of this accelerator is your self-worth is going to outpace your achievements. So you're going to have a very high self-worth. And then what happens then is your achievements run to catch up with your self-worth instead of the other way around. And so it's really building that true inner resilience. Now, here's what's in the accelerator. Let me tell you a little bit about the nuts and bolts of it. It's 3 months. Every other week we meet live. This is me teaching it, nobody else teaching it. You're going to jump on. It's virtual. There's people from all over the world. There's been a CEO of a hospital in Iceland has joined it. There has been business owners. There's been people. Last time we had people from Malaysia. We have people in Australia staying up super late. And we don't just talk. We're going to really dissect your current challenges and apply them to the Rapid Identity Transformation System framework in real time. And this is going to give you the clarity to make difficult decisions, have difficult conversations, and really step into all the difficult parts of leadership. But you're going to see it through a new lens, and you're going to be able to start doing it easily and naturally. So you have those live sessions with me. There's accountability groups. There's daily mindset anchors. You're going to learn some great new things. You're going to work on some amazing new things. And then you're going to go back in the 2 weeks between classes. There's not a lot of homework. I don't have a lot of homework because I know you're busy. So there's not a big workload past the groups, but you're going to have an accountability group. So you're going to get to know a small group of leaders from around the world very, very well, who's going to have your back. And then you get mindset anchors. So you're going to have something to work on, but I'm not going to let you drift. You're going to implement and integrate these things in the 2 weeks between classes. And then you're going to come back and you're going to get coaching on what went well and what didn't go well. So that's how we ensure that you integrate the different tools here. You're going to make large group and small group connections. Some people, even years later, they still meet and still are in contact with the leaders. If you're the type of people that want to increase your level of powerful, growth-oriented leaders, that's an added benefit to this. Class starts February 24th. Classes are on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., which is 11 a.m. EST or 8 a.m. PST. Oftentimes, we all travel, you go on holidays. So if there's a session or two you can't make, that's okay. You get the recording, you still get the anchors, you still get the accountability groups, et cetera. It's very, very normal to miss one. And then how much is it? Everybody wants to know. So it's, look, if you worked with me for 3 months of private coaching, it would be $20K, $20 to $30K. But I also realize everybody can't afford this. And I really want to help as many leaders as I can. So that's why I came out with these accelerators. So if you sign up before February 4th, it's under $1,000 US dollars. If you do after February 1st, it's $1,200. You will get, there's also, if you're in the GLC or you're alumni, there's a discount on that, but it's very, very affordable for what you're getting in there. And I just want to tell you really quickly about a couple of people that have been through there. And then I see some questions are coming in. I'll answer all the questions. There was Alice, who was a customer service manager at Salesforce. She felt lost in her job. She felt like she made it to some managerial levels, but she really didn't know what to do. Her team felt more like friends, and they were really not performing. She needed to start holding them accountable. And she would, in meetings, she would not want to raise her hand. She would not want to participate. There was customer meetings where there might have been higher level people from the customers. And with the work that she did in the accelerator, she overcame all that. She started holding her people accountable. They started performing to a really, really high level. She realized that she shifted her identity out of that friend into a strategic leader identity. She said, look, I'm participating. I'm raising my hands in meetings. Sometimes I even say something that's stupid, but I don't care because I'm participating. Because look, when you're in a high level meeting, you never know if everything you say is going to land. What real resilience is, raising your hand 9 out of 10 times you have something good, and 1 out of 10 times is, maybe it's not the right thing at that time, but you're there to always participate. And that's what true resilience is raising your hand even if you don't know it, even if you're not positive it's going to land anyway. So I was really proud of her for that. And she said, this program didn't just change how I lead, it changed how I see myself. And it's like it gave me a roadmap to leadership, which really, really helped her. And then Tim saw me speak, and then he came up afterwards and he's like, we've been stuck for a while, and I've been trying other things, but I realized that I'm the bottleneck. That's where what I said earlier came. And he's like, I realized after listening to you, I need to change. And Tim was a great salesperson, but they didn't need him to be a salesperson anymore. They needed him to be a managing director. So we worked on his habits. We worked on his identity. We worked on how he shows up, and he moved into more of a coach and mentor role. And then all of a sudden they're on the next level stratosphere of growth again. And he started leaving his office at 5 p.m., has time for his family. And 2 people, right after we made these changes, 2 people came up to him and said, you know what? I see the changes in you, and this is turning into the best job I've ever had, as far as culture and as far as him as their boss, which that made me really happy. And we really need to overcome the solo transformation fallacy. If you try to fix all this stuff on your own, you're just going to end up having more problems. Okay, so here's a summary. I'm going to get to the questions in just a second, but if you want to join and learn more about it, it's rmichaelanderson.com/mindset. That's rmichaelanderson.com/mindset. Or if you're listening in the podcast, it's in the show notes. And make sure you take advantage of it now, because especially before February 5th, you save $200. A lot of people get this covered by their organization, their company. And you can also, when you sign up, you can also pay for an extra $500. You can get 3 one-on-one mentoring sessions with me. And they normally cost $1,500. So That's it. All right, so I'm going to jump into questions here, and they can be questions about the accelerator, or they can be questions about what we just went. I'm going to do the Q&A things first. Do you think this can be applied to hybrid roles? I'm still a household manager with a small staff. I have plenty of tasks, as well as tasks members when staffs are out. So I'm not just trying to be a better leader. I'm trying to weave in and out of leading, doing, depending on what I'm tackling at any given time. When you talk about hybrid roles, I assume you're talking about you need to be a leader and a doer. Yes. I mean, very rarely do we move purely from a doer role to a leader role. Normally, we have to mix our leading and our doing. But what we have to make sure we do is not do too much doing, and we need to constantly be weaning ourselves off of the doing. And so you need to create this identity and to keep updating the identity and the beliefs and the thoughts and the actions of, am I empowering my team? Am I growing them? Am I letting go of what I need to let go of? Because we have this control addiction, right? So when it comes to a hybrid role, that's very common, but that's why you need to do this identity work. It seems like it would be easier to create an identity if you change roles or companies. How hard is it to do in your own business that you've been working in for 10 years? Will your team start to respect you more with the minor changes you make, or do you need to clean house? There is truth to starting fresh when you move from one organization to another, and you can rewrite your identity. In fact, in the podcast, I live coach somebody who's starting a new role, and we talk about how to rewrite that in the new role. However, for one thing is that's not always the situation. And two is, yes, you can absolutely do it in your existing role. And the thing about doing it in a new role is like you're creating it from scratch. But when you do it in your existing role, you get to see how people start reacting and communicating and reacting and responding to you differently. Because when you change who you are, you change how you carry yourself, you change how you interact with people. It's really interesting to see how they see you and take you. And it can be very, very fulfilling to make those changes and to see those changes at a place you're already working at. Do I have a PDF that explains the benefit of this course so we can use to justify the expense to leadership? I absolutely do have a PDF that explains the benefit of the course. Send me or one of my team members a note. You can to get the PDF, send something to hello@rmichaelanderson.com. And I have a PDF for you to send to HR or your leader so that you can get this approved as a business or growth expense or whatever it is. So absolutely, Christine. Yes. Okay, let's more question. And what about if you are confident and the team sees this, but the higher management don't see it as far as perception and stakeholder management? When I talk about confident, this is a humble confidence, but in my experience and almost in every level, your leader, your upper management wants this more from you, probably than your team does. Well, they both want it, just a bit in different ways. Mostly, the leadership team is waiting for you to be strategic, because part of being strategic is being confident. So the higher management will see it. I have an active coaching client right now, and we work with him and his team. But the reason he came to me is his boss is like, we need more out of you. We need you to be a strategic player. Otherwise, because he didn't get a promotion. And he's like, look, I need this, I've been here too long. I need this promotion. I'm doing, and he's the epitome of this. And we are working on, in this case, he's a one-on-one, but we are working on his beliefs and his identities. And he's bringing that to the leadership meetings, and they're taking notice of it. Great question. I have a team member who is confident but lacks humility and self-driven accountability. So my answer to this is that team member, it's not a true, authentic confidence. It's manufactured confidence, and it's overcompensating because somewhere there's an insecurity in this person. And your job as a leader is to find out where that insecurity is, what's driving it, and to overcome that. Because part of our job as leaders is to bring everybody else into a humble type confidence, because then they're going to grow and take more risks as well. Great question. Ryan, got a good acronym. IDEA: identify your current identity, define your desired, eliminate beliefs, anchor the new way. Oh, Ryan, I love IDEA. Mate, I'm going to remember that. Good one. Good one. Is it true most beliefs are formed in early childhood and just reinforced over a lifetime? Kat says, yes, is the answer to that. I have a simple answer to that. Yes. Well, I believe some of them are in early childhood. Some of them are in later childhood. Some psychologists say that everything's like in the first couple of years. I don't find that. I find that they could be anywhere from 18 on, and these beliefs come anywhere from 18 and younger, and they can even be through a traumatic experience. But yes, they do come from when we're young, and we do see reflections of them when we're older. FIT, fast identity transformation. Oh, I like that. FIT, I bet. Nice. A couple of people asked me about we're anchoring in a new way of being. So just because you overcome a belief, what you identify and overcome a belief once, and you define a new identity, doesn't mean tomorrow you have current wiring to those old beliefs and those old way of that old identity. So once you overcome a belief and you create a new identity, you have to anchor that in repeatedly over a period of time so that it takes. That's what I mean by anchoring it in. Jason said, how many people can join and attend each session? Well, you're in a cohort, Jason, so you're going to sign up and be with us for the whole 3 months. It's going to be the same people for the whole 3 months. So I think last time I had 33 people in there, so which is good enough. You get to meet new people, but then you get some individual attention as well. Okay, everybody, that was how to become a confident, high impact leader. So hopefully you got some insight on what's driving your behaviors, what is driving your actions, and it all goes back to your beliefs and your identity. I love doing this, so send me any questions you have. hello@rmichaelanderson. You can always get in touch with me there. Send it in if you have any questions, comments, etc. I'm always here to support you, dear leader, because look, I know as well as anybody, leadership is not easy. We got to deal with so much stuff that we can't even sometimes tell our spouse. We can't even tell our friends. Nobody really gets it but us. But I want to be that person that's there for you because I had people that were there for me. So go out there, leader, work on your mindset, work on your beliefs, work on your identities, and just be the person that spreads all this positivity around as a leader. Because look, I think the world needs it. So let's be part of that change. Take care. You don't get promoted for what you do. You get promoted for who you are. If you are relying on the same skills that made you a high performer, you are actually stuck in a trap. Hello, leaders. Michael here. Today is a special episode. What you are about to hear is a recording of a live masterclass I just taught called High Impact Leadership. We had hundreds of leaders join us live, and the session was so powerful that I wanted to bring it here to you directly on the podcast feed. You're going to learn the rapid identity transformation system, the fastest way to shift you from doing to leading. Let's get into it.